This 19-year-old girl is allergic to air. This is how she survives. Most people have experienced some type of allergy in their lifetime. Even if you're not allergic to nuts or bee stings, tree pollen and other types of seasonal allergies can aggravate sinuses and cause watery, itchy eyes. As uncomfortable and annoying as it can be to deal with allergies, imagine what it would be like to be allergic to just about everything in the air. A real nightmare, right? Unfortunately for one 19-year-old girl from Maine, that nightmare is the stark reality. Martina Baker was a young teenager from Maine with a perfectly normal life. Her parents owned a small bookstore in the center of town, which allowed them to lead a quiet life without too many worries. She and her younger brother Oscar, 14, had grown up in a safe and happy environment thanks to the education and affection that their parents and family had always given them unconditionally. An environment that would later become crucial in Martina's life and that would help her overcome the greatest challenge she would ever face. Martina was always a cheerful and friendly girl with no problems making friends. In fact, at school and high school, she was one of the most popular girls thanks to her great sense of humor and her undeniable beauty. But her popularity was not the only remarkable thing about her, as she was also an excellent student whose main goal was to get into Columbia University and become a successful lawyer. And she almost succeeded had it not been for an unexpected twist of fate that forced her to change all her plans indefinitely. As for love, she'd not been unlucky either, and at 19, she could already boast of having a stable relationship with the attractive and popular captain of the high school baseball team, Daniel White. He and Martina had known each other since kindergarten and had been dating since they were 14, although she'd been head over heels in love with him long before that. Probably forever, although only she and her secret diary in which she wrote all her secrets since she was 6 knew that. The life of successful and beautiful Martina was everything any teenager could wish for, and she was aware of it. Every day she thanked God for her wonderful family and for the luck she had in her life. Until one day everything changed and the luck that had always been with her decided to turn its back on her. It all happened one night at the end of summer. Martina had gone out to dinner with some friends at a small downtown restaurant that had just opened. They had dinner and then went to a nearby bar for a drink. Martina was very responsible and didn't like to overindulge in alcohol, especially if she had to drive afterwards, so she just had a beer and went home. She got home at around 2 a.m. and fell asleep. Everything seemed to be going well until suddenly, Martina woke up with a start and realized that her body was covered with red welts and itched like crazy. They were even on her throat and were itching more and more. "Mom, help me, it hurts to breathe," Martina shouted from her bed. She was scared to death and didn't understand what could have triggered this reaction. The screams woke her mother, who was sleeping next to her father downstairs. Her father was a deep sleeper and didn't hear his daughter's screams. Fortunately, her mother did. If Mrs. Baker had taken a few more minutes to come to her daughter's aid, it might have been too late. Seeing her daughter's condition, she rushed her to the nearest hospital for treatment. They treated her quickly, and only a few hours later, they managed to stabilize her and make the hives start to disappear. After 2 days, Martina seemed to be completely recovered, and the doctors decided to discharge her, even though they couldn't find out why she had suffered this strange allergy attack. We don't know what could have caused such a strong reaction in your daughter, and it's very difficult to find out. The important thing is that we've been able to neutralize the symptoms and that Martina is now well, was what the doctors told them before letting Martina go home and continue with her normal life. The Baker family didn't want to give it any more importance and trusted the word of the doctors who treated their daughter when they told them it was an isolated allergy episode and there was very little chance of it happening again. They would soon realize their mistake. After her discharge, Martina's life soon became a nightmare. She continued to have recurring allergic reactions, but it was unknown what caused them. She was in the hospital several times a week for months, and despite visiting numerous doctors, one specialist after another couldn't tell her what her problem was. Until finally, a year after suffering her first allergy attack and after traveling all over the country visiting the best doctors, an immunologist in Massachusetts diagnosed her with mast cell activation syndrome, and Martina finally had the answer she was looking for. Now she could finally understand her disease, treat it properly, and hopefully return to as normal a life as possible. MCAS is a disease that causes people to become allergic to virtually anything in the air other than oxygen. There are hundreds of different smells that can trigger an episode, such as cooking oil, smoke, perfumes, water, and heat. It's hard to say, and I know it's not easy to take in, but your daughter's in constant danger just by breathing. The simple scent of a rose could be lethal to her if we don't treat it in time. I need you to understand, as Martina will need everyone's help to get through this. These were the words of the doctor who managed to unravel the enigma that had surrounded Martina's illness for months. Does this mean I'll never be able to smell anything again? How'll I be able to live, locked up at home with the windows closed? Martina asked, very frightened at the very serious diagnosis the doctor just explained. I mean, you're going to have to adapt and change a lot of things in your lifestyle in order to move on, Martina. I fully understand your reaction and that you're scared. I would be too, but you mustn't panic. We'll find a way for you to lead an almost normal life, but we'll need your collaboration and that of your family. It'll be a slow and painful process, but you'll not be alone, Martina. We'll all be here to help you. The doctor explained in a calm tone to try and reassure her. and she succeeded, albeit only for a while. Since she was diagnosed, Martina radically changed her lifestyle. She and her family followed the doctor's instructions to the letter to ensure her safety, managing to stabilize her and prevent her from suffering any new attacks. Martina wore the mask most of the time, and above all, every time she went out in the street or was in public, although this happened rarely. Her family also had to adapt and make big changes in their daily lives. They started cooking outdoors, stopped washing clothes with traditional detergents, and only used vinegar to clean the house. Everyone did their part to take care of Martina's health, and they did it really well. However, the strict safety protocol demanded by her illness began to deprive Martina of many other things in her life, causing her mental health to slowly begin to deteriorate. Most of her friends had disappeared, some because they'd left to study at universities in other states, and others because they simply didn't understand her illness and felt that the best way to help her was to stay away. However, what hurt her the most and what ended up isolating her completely was that her great love, Daniel, abandoned her without giving her any kind of explanation. After several months isolated in her house and surrounded by strict hygiene and security measures, Martina began to feel very depressed and helpless. Her life had suddenly turned upside down and she couldn't even leave the house without fearing a severe allergic reaction. Since she became ill, her mother became her main support and her best and only friend. She listened to her and tried to help her as much as she could, even though she knew it would always be insufficient. Martina was only 19 years old and deserved to be able to live a full life and not spend most of her time locked in her room wearing a mask and fearing for another attack at any moment. "What's the point of living like this, Mom? I have no friends, no partner, no one can get close to me without putting my life at risk. I don't know if it's worth continuing to breathe if the price I have to pay is to give up enjoying life," Martina confessed one night to her mother. The young woman was really depressed and had begun to develop very alarming suicidal thoughts. Her family was very worried about her and also felt very sad they couldn't do more to help her. It was frustrating. It was then, as fate would have it, that her mother heard about a service dog program on television that trained dogs to detect the release of histamine in the body to alert their owner of an impending allergic reaction. As soon as she heard about it, she knew it was exactly what Martina needed and didn't hesitate to contact the program to find out what they needed to get her daughter into the program as soon as possible. However, they still had one more hurdle to overcome. The only thing standing between the program and Martina was the high cost of such a specially trained dog. The price to get one was $10,000. The family knew it would be difficult, but they never gave up. Knowing that the dog could save Martina's life in more ways than one, her family set up a GoFundMe page to help offset the cost and get her story to every corner of the globe. In just a couple of weeks, they achieved their goal and had raised all the money needed to get Sweet Martina her service dog, a beautiful boxer mix dog named Kiva. When Kiva arrived, she was accompanied by a trainer who helped Martina and her new dog get along. The connection between Animal and Martina was instantaneous. It hardly took the trainer to teach her how to communicate with a dog. They quickly understood each other, and Martina began to feel more animated since Kiva was by her side. Now, when Martina is about to have an allergic reaction, Kiva gives her a kiss on the mouth and physically prevents from coming into contact with the allergen. At night, Kiva keeps an eye on Martina even when she sleeps, and knowing that her dog is by her side and constantly alert has made all the difference in the world to everyone in the family. Everyone's much calmer because they know that Martina will never be alone and that no matter what happens, there'll be someone looking out for her well-being when they can't. But perhaps the most significant part of this whole story is the friendship that Kiva and Martina quickly developed, and how the unconditional love of an animal and her companionship brought joy back to a person who had lost the will to live. Did you like this touching and surprising story? If so, we invite you to leave us a comment expressing your opinion. If you want to continue enjoying inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos shown at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for your cooperation.